CM Punk! What an amazing time for us CM Punk fans, or at least while it lasted because it was burnt down. Hey everybody, SonGoshuaku here, live with my WWE SummerSlam 2025 Night 1 review. Alrighty, so we kick things right off after Cardi B is introduced as the greatest female rapper of all time, or at least one of them, and she was very hyped up for this show. The first match was Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. So yeah, this match right here, I thought, hey, it was really cool from the start. Roman Reigns, Jey Uso teaming up, after all the bad blood. I was there at SummerSlam 2023 in Detroit, so to see them go from that to where we are 2 years later was definitely fantastic stuff. So yeah, basically Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker, they come on out, and right from the start, man, they were showing how Bronson Reed had stole Roman Reigns Jordans and stuff, and so Michael Cole was even mentioning on commentary how Roman Reigns, he had new sneakers on and everything. So I thought that was a funny, hilarious detail touch. Did Roman even get those Jordans back? I don't remember. But yeah, as far as the match, it starts off really hot. All four men going in the ring. Roman and Jey Uso, they get both Bron and Bronson out of the ring, and then Jey Uso and Roman Reigns both call for the production crew to run it back. And so Jey Uso gets up and starts doing the whole, yeeting, and it's really cool because Roman Reigns is now encouraging it. So once again, we're seeing where Roman Reigns' character has come compared to where we were before. He did, he was all about that whole no eat, and now he's, yeah, let's eat. I think he even got caught yeeting when the production during like the fan cam footage from the phones, and he's like, that's AI. So yeah, with that, from there, Jey Uso, he jumps off the top of the rope and lands on all three men with a cross body. Then eventually, this leads to Roman Reigns getting wiped out with a spear outside of Bron Breakker, and that allows Breakker and Bronson Reed to both start working over Jey Uso. There's a funny moment too here where Bron Breakker has Jey Uso in a chin lock, and he starts singing Roman Reigns, you suck, you should have stayed away. I thought that was really great. More of Bron Breakker's personality coming out, and then from there, what we get is eventually the hot tag, and this gets Bron and Bronson out of the ring. From here, he does the over the top rope dive, which looks spectacular, but he almost overshots both men, nearly landing on his head. Yeah, that's when Roman did like that big Undertaker throwback, and you could hear the commentators, they're like, oh my gosh, like, man, the way I can explain it, here, I'll use my water bottle as an example. This is like Roman Reigns' head, and this is the canvas, and boom, he almost lands this, but he's able to turn his body at the last minute and land and basically evade disaster. So that was gonna be really nasty, so I'm glad that worked out. But yeah, crazy athleticism from Roman Reigns. He breaks that out every now and then. And then speaking of diving, Bronson Reed, he does a suicide dive, wiping out both Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, and then this is followed up by Bron Breakker doing a massive leaping clothesline onto Roman Reigns, who's leaned up against the table, and that's just some freakish athleticism. I can't put over Bron Breakker's athleticism enough. Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker, they then hit the Steiner Brothers tag team finishing move, and we get Roman Reigns speared, and Bron Breakker, he spears Bron Breakker through the barricade. So, that's something Bron Breakker's been doing in all his matches, so Roman gave him a taste of his own medicine, and from here it's just pure carnage. During the end of the match, though, Bron Breakker goes for the spear to Jey Uso, but Roman pushes him out of the way and sacrifices himself. So thus, Bron Breakker nails Roman Reigns, and then Jey Uso from here, he lands a spear and a Uso splash. Yeah, he takes out Bron Breakker, and then from there he lands a spear and an Uso splash to Bronson Reed to pick up the 1, 2, 3. Thus, your winners is Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. This is about what I expected. I expected Roman and Jey Uso to win, but I did not expect Jey Uso to pick up the win. But I figured Bronson Reed, I figured, okay, if Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker win, I'm like, Jey Uso's most likely taking the fall. And then if Roman or Jey win, I'm figuring, okay, Bronson Reed's taking the fall. So, yeah, this whole match really, it really spotlighted Jey Uso a lot more. You know, Roman really kind of took a back seat basically, and you know, let Jey Uso have a lot of shine for this. But yeah, interesting. They did not pin Braun Breaker, and we did get eventually, because I think we're gonna get a Braun Breaker and Roman Reigns match, one-on-one. And man, based on what we saw in this match, it's gonna be great. But I guess they want to save that for something down the line, like maybe a bigger show, WrestleMania. But overall, it was a really fun match. Great opening show. It is interesting because I think we all have. We've been so used to seeing Roman Reigns in these big giant profile matches, and when you come right over to here and you see this match, it's like, oh, you know, Roman kind of like was played down. He was the opener. He let Jey Uso have the spotlight. So, and I'm cool with that because Roman Reigns had a fantastic run over the last 4 or 5 years. You know, him letting his cousin get some of the spotlight, I think that's cool and everything. So, yeah, overall, and there was a lot of talk about would this be the main event, and having seen what the main event was between CM Punk and Gunther, I am so much glad. I am glad that one actually main evented over this one, because I got a lot of praise coming for that match later on. But yeah, overall, really fun match. Alrighty, our next match was for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez representing the Judgment Day versus Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Like I was saying in my Evolution 2 review, it is amazing what this storyline for Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, what just this whole are we friends, are we not friends type of storyline, which I found have to be quite wholesome at times, what it's done for Charlotte Flair. Night and day reaction, it's gotten over. The reports basically, as far as the rumors are, is that Charlotte Flair recognized this and she sees how over she is as a babyface organically, and they were going to do possibly her versus Alexa one-on-one, but she wanted to get it changed to be a tag team match. And hey, yeah, if something's not broke, if something's working, you keep going with it, right? You might as well. So I think that was really cool to see basically being done here. And then as far as the match goes, Raquel and Roxanne, actually the match, it starts off with a miscommunication from Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss because they can't agree who's gonna go on this. And one thing I really loved about this match is they did a really good job of, I feel, making it seem like, okay, Charlotte and Alexa Bliss are gonna have some sort of miscommunication. At some point, this team is gonna explode or gonna implode, and that's what they kept kind of teasing throughout this match. So that was really good, helped the match overall. So Raquel and Roxanne, they do a pretty good job of keeping Charlotte Flair down until Alexa is able to tag in, and even doing some good teamwork on Alexa Bliss. Yeah, pretty much the whole first part of this match was all Roxanne, all Raquel, but Alexa Bliss eventually gets the hot tag to Charlotte Flair, and the audience goes wild as Alexa Bliss takes it to both, as Charlotte Flair's taking it to both Raquel and Roxanne. Just like I said, really cool to see the 180 that the fans are doing with Charlotte Flair when it comes to this storyline with her and Alexa Bliss. So she is really basically messing up Raquel with those chops, and the fans, man, they're going woo woo really loud and everything and stuff like that. And she even delivers a double moonsault to both Raquel and Roxanne at the same time. Alexa Bliss eventually then comes in for a punch to Roxanne, but they pull Charlotte Flair out of the way. I think Raquel pulls Roxanne, I forget which one here in my notes, but eventually, because the target of Alexa Bliss is pulled out of the way, Charlotte Flair ends up getting nailed with a punch. and that's the one of those big dissension moments, like, oh, this isn't gonna go well. But despite Alexa Bliss being thrown out of the ring, Charlotte is able to is eventually being hit by a Tahana bomb from Raquel, and it's followed up by the Pop Rocks, I think is how you say her finishing move. But Alexa Bliss is able to kick out, so that was a really great moment. At the end of the match, though, a really cool moment that happens is the way they shoot this. So Alexa Bliss, she has the Sister Abigail set up for Roxanne, and the way the camera tilts over in the in the background, you see basically Charlotte Flair looking down like she's ready, she's poised, ready to pounce, and Alexa Bliss, she slowly turns her head towards Charlotte, and she runs towards Alexa Bliss looking like, oh, she's about to attack her for hitting her accidentally, but no, she runs past Alexa Bliss and delivers the big boot to Raquel Rodriguez, and then from there, Alexa Bliss finishes off Roxanne Perez with the Sister Abigail, 1, 2, 3, and your new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, who then do a friendly embrace in the ring. Another fun match. I like the way the story was going, and at this point in SummerSlam, I'm feeling like, oh man, this match was good. We've gotten two really good, solid tag team matches from both the gentlemen and the ladies, so right off, good start here. I figured Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss was going to win because, I mean, it's very hard to bet against Charlotte Flair, so yeah. I wouldn't have mind seeing Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez be tag team champions a little bit longer, but knowing how much they trade up these tag teams, man, who knows? And once again, really loving Raquel's more aggressive in-ring style, you know, after hearing Kevin Nash's criticism and everything and stuff like that. I think it's been working, so hopefully we still get to see some good things single-wise for Raquel Rodriguez. But yeah, a great fun match, and I think overall still it'll be good to see in the tag team division where this goes with Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. All right, so our next match was Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross with Scarlett. So I gotta be honest right off the bat, I think for me, this may have been one of the weaker matches, and I won't be surprised if it ends up ranking extremely low when I rank all the SummerSlam matches after night 2, but we gotta see how night 2 goes on. And it's nothing with the in-ring work. No, the Sami Zayn, Karrion Kross is excellent. It's just the match story-wise here. Let me get into it here. So Karrion Kross, he comes out with a huge ovation, rightfully so, and so does Sami Zayn. But I will say it was really cool to see Karrion Kross get a full-blown entrance at SummerSlam. And the reason why, because I remember being at SummerSlam 2023 thinking like, man, it's gonna be cool to see this entrance live, and instead he's part of that Slim Jim Battle Royal, and he's just walking out with a whole host of other wrestlers. Yeah, so I mean, it was like so much for that, and it's like, wow, why in the world are we doing this? So the action, it starts off pretty good between these two, and the audience is split. They're saying, let's go Sami, let's go Kross, let's go Kross, let's go Sami. So yeah, pretty mixed response. And so basically, Kross, he gets very aggressive as the match goes on. He's yelling to Sami, basically saying, say it, and it's basically alluding to when he was saying he wanted Sami to say Kross was right. And from there, they all basically replay the finish of their second match that was on Raw recently, where the referee is distracted by Scarlett, who throws in a lead pipe over to Karrion Kross, and before he can hit Sami in the gut once again with that, Kross is hit with the Blue Thunder Bomb, which of course very few times, as boy Aaron Riff points out on NoDQ.com, very few times does the Blue Thunder Bomb ever win Sami Zayn a match. So from there, Scarlett ends up giving the lead pipe over to Sami Zayn, but Sami Zayn throws away the lead pipe, refusing to give up his morals, which pays off in the end as he is able to defeat Karrion Kross with the haluva kick. Pretty much going about the way that I thought this match was going to go. And what was interesting at the end, Sami Zayn, I think, mouths the words or does like this, and I believe he was saying, "You were not right." And this is certainly a different 180 direction, basically a whole 180 from me thinking that hopefully they would go the NXT route for the Velveteen Dream and Aleister Black, where that whole story was is that Velveteen Dream just wanted Aleister Black to acknowledge him, say his name, and even though the Velveteen Dream lost, Aleister Black went on the microphone and said Velveteen Dream and walked off as the Velveteen Dream smiled because he at least got that acknowledgement for Aleister Black. So I was thinking, well, the least we can get in the story is Sami will look at him and be like, "You were right." But like I said, from what I could tell, looked like he mouthed like, "No, you were not right." And it's like, okay, what was the point of the story there? So like I said, I mean, the work was fine. Nothing against Sami, nothing against Karrion Kross. It's just, you know, it felt very much almost like a repeat of what we got when they had their match at, was it Night of Champions, I think it was that King or Queen of the Ring or Money in the Bank? I forget which one. It was one of these shows they wrestled at, and they tried to play up a little bit of their second match, but I thought, you know, Sami winning, fine. I thought Karrion Kross could have used the win a lot more, but at least have Sami do that acknowledgement. So yeah, yeah, whether Kross lost or won this match, I didn't think it really satisfied me as a fan personally. I would have loved to seen Kross win, and I saw fan cam footage from someone's phone that they uploaded on X, basically showing Karrion Kross and Scarlett were shaking hands with the fans. So yeah, just very disappointing how WWE has handled Karrion Kross and Scarlett. You know they could do so much more, especially when he's gotten over, especially if you see some of the stuff that he does on his social media. But overall, this match was just more the same old, same old. This is not what fans want to see from Kross. And I don't know, there's talk about his contract might be up and maybe WWE didn't want to commit to him. Maybe they were gonna be like, hey, we'll give you a feature match on SummerSlam, but you got to re-sign with us. And Kross, you know, obviously when you look at the last 2 years of his run, or 2 or 3 years, yeah, maybe he's not so quick to sign. And if that's the case, they're gonna have Sami go in if Kross is on his way out. So just overall disappointing, you know. As you see somebody like Kross get over with the fans organically, and you want to see him get that push. And yeah, I just think missed opportunity. And yeah, this was kind of like one of the matches that I was kind of like, I for because of its results, I was kind of down on it and everything and stuff like that. All right, so our next match was for the WWE Women's Championship. Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton. All right, so Tiffany Stratton during the match does a lot of counters to Jade Cargill. Oh, I should mention Jade Cargill came out representing Jamaica, so that was a really cool outfit and stuff. Kofi Kingston had some funny words on Twitter/X about that. But as far as getting back to the match, Tiffany Stratton, yeah, she does a lot of counters to Jade Cargill. There's one funny moment where Jade Cargill, she knocks down Tiffany Stratton or throws her back in the ring, and then she gets up on the apron and she just starts flexing and all that stuff, and then Tiffany Stratton gets up and does a drop kick right to her back and sends Jade Cargill flying off the apron. And I was sitting there, I'm like, stay on her, you know, as a fan. I'm like, in the match story wise, stay on her and everything. In terms of like Jade Cargill, you know, none of this flexing. You want a championship, you gotta win that world title. So Jade Cargill, she does break out some new moves, like some sort of like spinning power bomb. Like she's got Tiffany in the air and spins her around, delivers a power bomb. That was really cool. Both women do a good job, I think, of showing their athleticism. And Jade did a really good job, I thought, herself, showing that. At one point though, Tiffany Stratton goes for the prettiest moonsault ever, and Jade Cargill, she gets her feet up into the air to counter and then hits the Jaded to Tiffany Stratton. But get this, Jade Cargill pulls so far back into the pinfall, it causes Tiffany's leg to go on top of the bottom rope, causing a break. So essentially, Jade Cargill cost herself the match there. And it's like, wow, because they were very close to the ring, and I'm thinking like, okay, I'm like, instead of getting her to the center, Tiffany Stratton's gonna put her foot on the rope. But no, Jade is the one who pulls back so far. She ends up rolling back, and Jade and essentially does the work for her, puts Tiffany's foot on there. So as far as how that plays in the story, the commentators are talking about how that basically is the inexperience of Jade Cargill. So yeah, Jade, essentially the way this played out story-wise is that Jade could have had this match won had she not pulled so far back and essentially cost herself the match right there for the championship. So eventually Jade Cargill gets Tiffany Stratton on top of the rope to do the super Jaded, but in mid-air, before Jade can send her crashing down, Tiffany Stratton sort of like rolls like head first, like rolls over under Jade Cargill's legs, and that sends Jade Cargill flying, back first right onto the canvas. And from there, Tiffany Stratton delivers the prettiest moonsault ever to get the 1, 2, 3 and retain the WWE Women's Championship. Thus, I think, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat or in the comments if you're watching on demand, but I think this is Jade Cargill's first clean loss on the main roster. I know she lost to what was it, Nia Jax, but I think there may have been shenanigans with that, or there may have been something done storyline wise. But in terms of Jade Cargill coming in 100% clean, 100% health, going up against another opponent who's also at 100% health, wrestling one-on-one, no shenanigans, no story plot points of pre-injuries before the match. Yeah, this is the first time I think that someone's defeated Jade Cargill straight up clean, and I felt this was the hardest match for me to predict. I felt it could have gone either way. I could see that they want to put the title on Jade Cargill and just really start pushing her to the moon as a big superstar, or I could see, hey, they really got a lot of things going with Tiffany Stratton. They want to push her and everything. So yeah, Tiffany has really ranked up some big wins. Charlotte Flair, Trish Stratus, Jade Cargill, they're going all in with the Tiffany Stratton push, and I'm okay with that. Tiffany Stratton has come a long way in a short amount of time, and they've decided to push her over Jade Cargill in this case. So it'd be interesting to see where they go with Jade Cargill after this. The match itself was fine, but I do think I've liked some of the other matches, like the matches Jade Cargill has had with Naomi this year. I love those matches better. The matches that Tiffany Stratton had with Trish Stratus I liked better, even some of the matches with Nia Jax. So this one, like the match they had on the SmackDown after WrestleMania was pretty okay. And I guess this is their match more so trying to go all out. But yeah, even the way they booked this, like they've never put both these ladies out there for promos. They instead had them do video packages. They only had short backstage segments, so it felt like they weren't even really on the show for that. And that may have been by design. Maybe they didn't trust the women to go out there, obviously on a big show to have a promo back and forth or something like that. So yeah, maybe that. So yeah, the match was okay, I would say. It was all right, but not my favorite Tiffany or Jade Cargill match I've seen this year. All right, so the next match, which I believe served as the co-main event of the evening, it was Randy Orton and Jelly Roll versus Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. Pretty cool. Jelly Roll was sort of singing Randy Orton's song when he came out. I hear voices in my head. They talk to me. They talk to me. You know, that was really cool. And as far as the match starting off, Logan Paul gets a cheap shot. Well, before the match starts off, Logan Paul gets a cheap shot on Jelly Roll. Once the bell rings, Jelly Roll tags himself in. And before they even tied up, Wade Barrett had me cracking up on commentary. He was like, this is effectively Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul in a handicap match, and Jelly Roll is just there. But the audience, man, they were very much into Jelly Roll. The man hadn't even done one tie-up yet, hadn't even lifted a finger, and the fans are already chanting Jelly Roll, Jelly Roll. They were even singing Jelly Roll, Jelly Roll, Jelly Roll. You know, like when they do Roman Reigns. You know, they were doing stuff like that. So it was very much, I will say, Jelly Roll was very over, and I think that's one of the things that really helped this match was the audience. The audience was definitely super into the match. And so basically from here, the audience, yeah, they're very much into Jelly Roll as they start singing him. And he does a nice scoop slam and a pretty nice elbow to start things off. So right off the bat, we're starting to go really good here. We heard Jelly Roll's been training for months. He lost a lot of weight, like almost 200 pounds, I think. So props to him. And you gotta love it when the celebrities come in here and they take it serious. So the audience, from here, they were someone who was getting mad to sell for Jelly Roll was going to go for a tag on Randy Orton, but when he turned his back, Drew McIntyre smacked him upside the head despite Randy Orton pleading with Jelly Roll to tag himself in. Randy Orton then hypes Jelly Roll up, who comes face to face with Drew McIntyre, and instantly you can hear him mouth the words "mother effer" because Jelly Roll basically regrets looking at how tall and jacked Drew McIntyre is, and Drew McIntyre, he starts putting a vice grip on Jelly Roll's throat, and he starts choking and says, "This is the day the music dies." But he then gets slapped, and Randy Orton's just having a field day on the commentary, just like, just cheering up, just basically getting all riled up. From here, what we get for most of this match is a very slow, and I mean slow, methodical beatdown of Jelly Roll from Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. I don't know how long this went, but this went on for what I would have to say feels like almost forever. It was long, it was slow, and it was methodical. And hey, if you want to see Jelly Roll get his butt kicked very slowly, that's pretty much what you were getting here. So they were beating him down methodically in the ring. Eventually, Jelly Roll does get the hot tag for Randy Orton, and the pace of the match finally quickens, is how I put it here in the notes, as he goes to work. As Randy Orton goes to work on Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. And this is where you start getting into more of the ring action and everything and stuff like that. So Randy Orton outside the ring, he delivers two backdrops, one after the other, to Logan Paul and then Drew McIntyre onto the announce table. But Randy Orton is laid out on that same table with a Claymore. Eventually, Logan Paul knocks out Jelly Roll with the punch. And from there, when I think he grabs, what was this? Logan Paul gets on, so from here, Logan Paul, he gets on the top rope and clashes two prime drinks together and delivers a frog splash from the top rope to Jelly Roll through the announce table. Now, when this spot happened, Jelly Roll could be seen taking his arms. He's taking his arms, crossing his stomach, and he had his head up, looking up. And there was so much time being taken out on this for Logan Paul gloating. I'm like, oh, okay, Jelly Roll's gonna get out the way, and I'm like, he's gonna show everybody like how quick he is and everything to just get out the way and stuff. And no, very much while Jelly Roll's in that position, he lands. Logan Paul lands on him and crashes and explodes the table. Great visual, but I legitimately thought thought Jelly Roll was going to be out of there. And I think this just comes down possibly to inexperience. Now, I've never been in the ring or anything like that, but just as a fan watching, it looks like wrestlers, when they're mostly out on the ground, it looks like, mostly, they'll be playing like they're out of it. And usually once the wrestler that's going to be doing the top rope move jumps off, and once they're in midair, I notice that's where the wrestlers, will usually have their arms try to cover up their stomach to protect their stomach when, full body human being comes crashing down on them. And I think what Jelly Roll was doing here is he did that before all that stuff. He was making sure that he was in position the whole time. And as a fan, that threw me off because I'm thinking, oh, Jelly Roll's going to get on out of here because Jelly Roll looks like he's completely conscious. It looks like he's just standing there waiting. It doesn't look like, he's out of it. And then boom, at the last minute, he tries to protect himself, as you see with most wrestlers. And granted, you have to expect it. Not everything's going to be clean and perfect for someone who is inexperienced as Jelly Roll at this versus a seasoned wrestler. But yeah, I thought Jelly Roll was getting out of the way on that spot. But other than that, obviously the visual look cool. Logan Paul does a phenomenal job with that. From there, Randy Orton tries his best to hang against Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul one-on-one, as they're really hammering up that Jelly Roll won't be able to continue. His wife's back there and he's looking at his wife and just they said, I can't keep going, and they're trying to help him out. And this is very similar to what they did at SummerSlam 2023 with Bianca Belair, when it was looking like she had maybe injured one of her knees, and they're just taking forever to take her back and stuff, and they're lingering the camera on her, and the camera shots are constantly shooting back and forth between the action in the ring and from them trying to take whoever might be needing medical assistance. But Jelly Roll eventually pushes everybody away, and he's like, I'm going to continue to do this match, and it gets a huge ovation from the audience. And so Jelly Roll, he gets right back in there and stuff like that. So from there, Jelly Roll, he comes in, he tags Randy Orton, and he delivers a choke slam to Logan Paul and a boss man slam to Drew McIntyre. Both looked really good execution-wise, so much props for him, and much props to Jelly Roll for hanging in there. That has got to be exhausting to get himself in enough cardio shape to be in the ring, because, yeah, I mean, I think Jelly Roll had more ring time in this match than even Randy Orton, so, yeah. That being said, the audience starts going wild for Jelly Roll, and a lot of people are saying F you Logan Paul. So as we get into the ending sequence of this match, Jelly Roll grabs Logan Paul when he goes for a crossbody in midair and does a spinning slam. So Logan Paul really did a great job of his athleticism there, really helping make Jelly Roll look like $1,000,000. And then from there, Drew McIntyre delivers the Claymore to Jelly Roll, but then turns it into an RKO to Drew McIntyre. So yeah, after Drew does the Claymore, he turns right over into the RKO by Randy Orton. And after that, Logan Paul throws Randy Orton into the turnbuckle post. And from here, Logan Paul, he does the frog splash to Jelly Roll. And I figured he was probably going to hit it because as soon as Logan Paul gets up there, Jelly Roll, once again, he gets in that position where he's covering his stomach up and he's doing it where he's staying in there. I'm like, okay, based on how that last spot, that means he's going to probably land it, which once again kind of took me out of the match a little bit because one of the thrills, a part of it, is when a wrestler climbs up to the top rope and the wrestler's standing there. You don't know, are they going to move out of the way or are they going to end up taking the move? That's part of the thrill. But when I saw him do that, I'm like, okay, he's probably bracing himself already, which is kind of telling me how this is going to end. And thus, Logan Paul does indeed hit the frog splash and gets the 1, 2, 3 to pick up the win for him and Drew McIntyre. Now, I thought this was an extremely rare move. I actually had Randy Orton and Jelly Roll going over. I thought honestly in most of this match, Randy Orton and Logan and Drew were going to do the bulk of the work, and they'll just have Jelly Roll come in there for a few quick spots, do some big moves here, do a little bit of selling, but they would probably keep his in-ring time limited given his inexperience. But no, Jelly Roll got a lot of room time in this match, and surprisingly, during the Vince McMahon era, when they were bringing in the outsider celebrity, they would always usually go over, but here Jelly Roll Roll, he did, as they say in wrestling, the job. He did the job, and you know what? I respect to him. Respect to Jelly Roll. He could have came in there and been like, listen, I'm the star here and all that stuff, and basically, with him being well known in the country music and everything. But no, he came in there, he gets it. You could just tell he's a fan. He understands that, hey, at the end of the day, Logan, Drew, you guys are going to be here. I'm not. I'm going away on another concert. So let me make you guys look good and win and stuff. And so I thought much props to him for that. Overall, from a performance standpoint, I would say Jelly Roll's no Bad Bunny. He's no Logan Paul. But I give Jelly Roll his props for getting in there and taking a beating and doing what he could do and ultimately putting over the current WWE talent. It's not hard. It's hard to do pro wrestling. Much respect. Jelly Roll was talking on X, like he said, we got to end this whole wrestling fake stuff, because he's like, he's been feeling it, aches and pains and feeling it every single time he's been there training. Jelly Roll, he took it serious. He went in there and trained. He got himself in condition to do this match. He was in there a long time. Like I said, the performance, by all means, this is not going to go down as, I feel, one of the greatest celebrity performances of all time, but I give him much respect for getting in there, even if most of the match he was getting beat up, to be able to know how to bump around, take those falls. I know you have to keep your head up when you're doing a back drop, a back body, flat back bump and all that stuff. So he took that table spot and everything. He took a lot of moves in this match like a champ, and I thought the few moves that he did do looked really good and stuff like that. So yeah, I just don't think they shouldn't. I don't think they needed to give him as much ring time to just constantly get beat up so much. I felt that really hurt the pacing of the match, and I know they were trying to build up suspense for the hot tag for Randy Orton and everything. But yeah, shout out to Randy Orton, Drew, and Logan Paul, really doing their absolute best to work with Jelly Roll and make it a very serviceable match. And I will say, when you look at Logan Paul's performance and you look at Jelly Roll's performance, I think it puts into perspective what these men and women do for our entertainment is not easy at all. This is very tough to do. It's tough on the body, tough mentally, and just even as a fan that watches this, I respect what these men and women do. And looking at Jelly Roll's performance, you can see exactly why people take years to hone their craft at this. People take amazing, which is why, in a sense, you've got someone like Logan Paul who is a prodigy at this, like the way how good Logan Paul got, or someone like Kurt Angle, how good he got and everything. I mean, yeah, you look at that. So overall, I didn't dislike the match. It probably, honestly, when I do my ranking, won't rank that very high, but I give Jelly Roll respect for what he did do in there in the ring. If they bring him back for another match, I'll be interested to see where he improves it. But for what he did in the ring, I give him much respect because he took it serious and everything. You hear all this stuff about WWE and Travis Scott have parted ways and stuff. So if Travis Scott, through months of training, wasn't able to get to the point where WWE felt comfortable at putting him in a match, but Jelly Roll was, then that just shows you Jelly Roll's dedication right there, and just how much easier it must have been for Jelly Roll to pick up what he did in the ring than what Travis Scott possibly could have done. Once again, we don't know. That's all rumors and all that stuff and everything, but if that is indeed the case, that's what I have to say about that match. And now it's time for the main event of night one. CM Punk versus the Ring General Gunther for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Oh man, it was interesting to see how this was gonna go. and stuff for something like this, man. Were they gonna have Gunther win, or was CM Punk gonna go over and get another world title and everything? And plus, we had the suspicion of Seth Rollins. So right off the bat, this match starts off with a filling out process. Gunther is giving CM Punk a lot of heavy chops through most of the first part of this match. Gunther really was beating the crap out of CM Punk for a lot of this match. At one point, CM Punk is caught up in between the ropes, and Gunther is giving him like 3 devastating chops, like boom, 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 and CM Punk's like linging back, almost nearly falling out the ropes and stuff. From there, most of the match, like I said, it's brutal. It's Gunther just brutalizing CM Punk, brutalizing this man. Putting some nasty chin locks, telling him, "So you want to call me a kid, huh? You want to call me a kid?" Just yelling and stuff, man. At one point, CM Punk goes for the sharpshooter on Gunther, but Gunther is able to overpower him and eventually put CM Punk in a sharpshooter. And as he starts flexing, basically while doing the sharpshooter, because of course he has his issues with Bret Hart, in a really smooth transition, CM Punk is able to while on his back, reverse into a sharpshooter of his own that he puts onto Gunther. Gunther and CM Punk both are selling the exhaustion. They keep going back and forth with punches and chops. CM Punk goes for the running knee, but Gunther is able to counter in midair by catching him and slamming him down for the power bomb. When CM Punk is laying on the canvas, he tries to pick him up, only to get caught in a dragon sleeper. So that was the story of the match. No matter what Gunther would just lay down CM Punk with, CM Punk was always fighting, still finding some way to counter and everything. That was pretty much the story of the match. And when the Dragon Sleeper is applied, he's able to get out of it by nearly putting a Boston Crab, but CM Punk's able to kick away before he fully applies the submission. There's a great moment where Gunther goes for the sleeper, but CM Punk is able to counter into a Russian leg sweep. From there, CM Punk is able to land a running knee and bulldog. He's finally able to get that running knee and bulldog, but Gunther kicks out at 2. CM Punk, he then tries to go for the top rope elbow, but Gunther meets him right up there with another devastating chop, basically, and that sends CM Punk to the canvas, and from there, Gunther does his big splash for another great near fall, and the audience is really into it. They're chanting for CM Punk. With every time he kicks out, I was so invested in the match, had me on the edge of my seat. CM Punk, he eventually gets done. He eventually goes for the GTS, but Gunther is able to go behind him and turn it into a power bomb. From there, Gunther does a flying drop kick that sends CM Punk into the turnbuckle, and then he delivers the power bomb to CM Punk to get yet another great near fall. CM Punk then he sees he puts back on the on his knees and goes through just to keep chopping him. He goes for the knees again. Gunther is able to keep CM Punk is on his knees, and as he's getting up on his knees, Gunther is just chopping the crap out of him over and over, and then he eventually puts him on the top rope, and he starts basically hanging CM Punk from his legs from the top rope by putting his chin or his foot onto Gunther's chin, hanging him from the top rope. From there's the action spills to the outside. Gunther picks up CM Punk and he throws him side ribs first into the turnbuckle post. So man, it's just looking like CM Punk has put up a very, very valiant effort, but it's just looking like Gunther is taking him apart from here. From here, Gunther starts celebrating and getting onto the announce table, just throwing his arms up, and this is where the match starts to turn heavily into CM Punk's favor. And this is a pattern that usually goes on with Gunther's matches. Is usually when he's beating up people, as we saw in the Sami Zayn, he gets confident, he gets too cocky and arrogant, and it starts to cost him. So Gunther, he ends up getting his legs swooped right up from under him, and he goes crashing onto the announce table, and CM Punk is starting to, get his second win. He's feeling it, and Gunther, he emerges from under the announce table, never broke, so he just like bounced right off the announce table, hit hard on there, and when Gunther emerges, Gunther is bleeding a gusher, blood just coming down profusely over his head, and I'm glad that Michael Cole and Wade Barrett were quick to bring this on commentary, and Gunther, he did a phenomenal job of selling this. Like, he gets in the ring, he's like, he can't wipe his eyes, and he's telling CM Punk to back off, because from what I can remember, I don't think Gunther's ever bled, so they really played this up like, okay, it reminds me of the Unforgiven 2002 match, which was the first encounter between The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar, and in that match, one of the big stories going into it was Undertaker was like, tell me, Brock, have you ever tasted your own blood? And it's like, what's going to happen when Brock has to, bleed for the first time from his head and starts tasting his blood coming down? So I thought this was really good, and at this point, Gunther's freaking out. He wrestles the rest of the match like he's like just freaking out. He doesn't know what to do. He's got blood, and Wade Barrett's on commentary bringing up a good response about this, as far as how is Gunther going to be able to work with all this, and he's never been busted open from here, and the audience is getting real riled up at this point, and I'm on the edge of my seat. I think I'm standing up in my living room at this point. I'm standing up trying to see, okay, how's this gonna end? And the audience, after they're getting riled up, you can see CM Punk, he's about to go for the GTS, but Gunther is able to put him in a sleeper, and it's not looking good, but CM Punk does find a way to escape, and as we get to the closing parts of this match, CM Punk delivers the GTS to Gunther. But Gunther is like, he's out on his feet. He's standing back like that. Very, very reminiscent of, if you've all seen that behind the scenes when the show's off the air, Triple H is just selling for the longest time, standing up on his feet. And Triple H, at this point though, CM Punk, he goes back for a second GTS, which finally nails Gunther down. And he covers him. 1, 2, 3, and the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, CM Punk. And I tell you, as a fan, I did a whole lap in my living room. I was like, yes, CM Punk. Like, man, oh my gosh, phenomenal. CM Punk, the new World Heavyweight Champion. Phenomenal. Just, man, this is amazing. Before I get to the finishes, let's tell you why I am so proud as a CM Punk fan. To come back to WWE and have back-to-back matches of the night at SummerSlam in 2024 and 2025, because I thought that match at Drew McIntyre, in fact, last year at SummerSlam 2024, I ranked that as my number one match for SummerSlam, and this match, night one, man, I think this easily was the match of the night. And then he comes back and does it again in 2025, match of the night. That's why I said this was rightfully the main event. And then to think he had the feud of the year in 2024 with Drew McIntyre. I mean, that was captivating stuff that he did last year, and he was injured for most of it. From SummerSlam 2024 to SummerSlam 2025 to go without getting injured, proving that, hey, those were just bad. That was just a case of bad luck, but CM Punk's body is able to hold up. He finally got to main event WrestleMania, and then he gets one last WWE World Title win. And this just seemed impossible in 2014 and 2015. I'm glad he was able to reconcile with WWE, and to think, Triple H being the guy in charge, you remember all the bad blood that he was so publicly about with his issues with Triple H, to know that, hey, he came back, he's working for Triple H now, and Triple H, he put this guy in the main event, he put the world title on him, just phenomenal. And I think CM Punk now is the first WWE, he's the first pro wrestler to be world champion in AEW and then come over to WWE and be world champion. Because remember, back in AEW, Cody Rhodes, he lost that stipulation to, I think it was MJF, where he could no longer challenge for he could never challenge for the world title ever. So yeah, this was phenomenal moments. I think this is just a really good love letter to CM Punk fans, to see able to get this moment. I don't know if CM Punk was ever going to get another lengthy reign as champion. If he will get one, I don't know. I mean, personally, I don't even think he needs it, just because, I mean, It'd be cool, but he already had his 400 plus day reign as champion, so he's submitted. This is just icing on the cake, but this is a cool moment to see. And then I just wanted to really make sure I acknowledge that first. But then we get to the next part, which is Seth Rollins comes on out, and he's on crutches, and it looks like, okay, he just wants to give CM Punk a warning sign. But then as he's walking back, he does this with his crutches. He drops both of them, and then he takes off the knee pad, the knee brace, and he starts stumping on it, and he's like, it was a ruse all the time, which I think a lot of us figured, because going back, even if you look at the footage on Night of Champ, if you look at the footage on Saturday Night's Main Event, when he did that backdrop, it looked like he really didn't, like nothing out of the ordinary. He landed on his feet right, bent his knees and stuff, as you're supposed to when doing those high impact jumps. So it looked fine. And then when you look at how, look at Liv Morgan, they were very quick to say, okay, she's going to need surgery, she's going to be out and everything. But a lot of the reports were saying, we're told this was an injury angle. And they were saying that, the MRI, he went on a podcast talking about how, the MRI is not going to be, is going to take some while to be up before we can get there because it's too swollen. It's like, it just, something seemed off about it. I think that's why most fans could tell, like, all right, they're probably going to do a big cash-in moment or something. And they did a good job of making it like it wasn't going to do that. But at the point right there when he took that knee brace off, because what I thought was going to happen, like CM Punk, I was like, watch your back. Bronson Reed or Braun Breaker are probably going to come on out and attack you from behind, and Seth Rollins going to pull the ruse and throw it down. But no, they just wanted to seriously just focus on that. No, CM Punk is just exhausted from his match with Gunther. So from there, Seth Rollins, he ends up running down with the briefcase. He grabs Jessica Carr on the way and is like, no, let's make this a match. And he beats down CM Punk. CM Punk is about to get him in the GTS, but he starts elbowing him, and the commentators are basically talking about how, CM Punk is exhausted from that war he just went with Gunther. And from there, he gets beat down heavily with the briefcase to the head and the back, and the referee calls for the bell, and basically with one curb stomp, Seth Rollins pins CM Punk 1, 2, 3 to become the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. A lot of us saw it coming, but I thought it was executed very well, and overall, this is why they didn't want to do like Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. They wanted to really pull a fast one over one, but I think most of the wrestling fans out there saw it coming and everything. But just because we saw it coming, just because it's predictable, I don't think that means it's bad. I thought it made sense for the story. Seth Rollins vowed to never let CM Punk win the World Championship, which makes me think now Seth Rollins will be the champion going through all of going through all of the fall. We're coming up going through all of the fall. I actually think that Seth Rollins is overall going to probably eventually lose to either Roman Reigns or CM Punk. But another heist of the century moment for Seth Rollins. I believe he is now 3 successful cash-ins. He joins Edge, known as Adam Cope, or just Cope now in AEW, CM Punk himself, and Seth Rollins. They all 3 have cashed in the Money in the Bank successfully 2 times, and on top of that, Seth Rollins, I think, is the only person to successfully cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase for the world title in both the main event of WrestleMania and SummerSlam. So and hey, CM Punk, he got the main event WrestleMania and SummerSlam this year, so that was really cool to see. Overall, I'm looking forward to where the story goes from here. So overall, really exciting conclusion. That being said, overall, I thought the first night of SummerSlam was a success. Really good show. I think the matches are going to be even more barn burners and hard hitting. On paper, the night 2 looked like it was going to be stronger than night 1, but shout out to everybody on night 1. I thought they held their own. Like I said, there were some matches that I thought could have been a little bit better, but even those matches weren't like bad. Like it's like, oh my gosh, this is a horrible show. Like no, every match was either okay to good to great, but I didn't think there was nothing bad on this show, and that's a good compliment. Anytime you can get away with a show that doesn't have anything bad on it, I think it's a success. So easily, definitely, that was really well done. All right, let's see if we got anything here going on in the chat. I gotta make sure my chat's not yeah, for some reason all right, so yeah, I don't know what's going on here. My chat is not displaying right, and I don't know why. It should be displaying right. It's not displaying the everyone on the screen. So sorry if you all have been communicating. I have my thing called Caster Labs up here, and it's not showing for some reason. I don't know why. It's not showing. It's supposed to be showing. Let me exit out of here. I don't know why my Caster Lab is not showing. My chat room. Yeah, that's really weird. It says I'm connected. You have been logged. Yeah, it says it's connected to my YouTube channel, but for whatever reason, it's not going, and I don't know why. Wow. Okay, so, gosh, let me see. Let me see if I can bring up the chat here. Technical difficulties. Crap. Yeah, I apologize. You all been in the chat, or I'm gonna acknowledge your chats in one moment. As I can see what the heck is going on here, because this is not it. This is not cool. Let's see, can I get my Caster Labs working up here? Yeah, I use this thing called Caster Labs, and since I do horizontal and vertical streams at the same time, it usually will show. It will usually go ahead and show my chat, but it's not showing my chat for some reason. And like I said, I just don't know why that is. Let me go to my settings, maybe plugins. Let me see, accounts. Let me see what's okay. What if I disconnect that and I go back here to my YouTube? Maybe I have to emphasize my other channel. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe if I do this, it'll show. Success, okay. Alrighty. I just don't know why my channel's not showing here. Yeah, I've been having people in the comments. I haven't been seeing them on here. Technical difficulties. We're live, and I don't know what's going on. Okay, well, I don't want to waste any more time, so I'm gonna read all the chats and go through the chats and see what we got here. Looks like I've had quite a few going on my vertical and horizontal one. So let me read my horizontal one. Sorry guys, I just do not know why my chats my chat is not displaying. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't know why. Alrighty, well, going into chats here. Earl, thanks for joining. Says, what's up? This show was better than night one of WrestleMania. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Yeah, definitely. I think it's on a better start for sure. He says this match was all right. It was weak. I agree. I heard Kross might get released soon. Must be okay. Referring to the Kross match. Yeah. I thought it was one of the weaker matches on the show for sure. Tiffany match. He says Tiffany match. One of the ORST matches of night. Tiffany carried the whole match, and Jade does not know how to wrestle. Strong opinion by Earl there for Jade Cargill. I like Jade Cargill. I think she has some good matches, and I think she's come a long way since she was in AEW. But yeah, I wasn't too much into Tiffany or Jade's match. Earl says okay match. He said I like Logan's leg drop in a tribute to Hogan. Yeah, that was really cool when they did that. And Notorious Hills podcast, my guy, what's up? Yeah, what's up indeed. Glad to see you. I'll be listening to y'all's podcast coming up soon on Spotify and everything. But yeah, I've been listening to you guys on there. Phenomenal stuff. Check out Notorious Hills podcast. They do some great conversational podcasting work over there for WWE and AEW. Earl says great match, but Gunther carried the match and CM Punk came out of the dead to win the match, and I called that Seth Rollins would cash in and his injury was fake. Yeah, I think a lot of us saw that coming. A lot of us definitely saw that coming. Earl also says, and Gunther has a nose injury too. Oh, I must have missed that spot. See, he says champion for 5 minutes. That CM Punk was. Earl also says CM Punk will win the Rumble and will have the rematch at Mania. For sure. Yeah, probably so. Yeah. That's what my buddy, the man 0001 was saying. That we might end up getting that and everything for sure. That being said, Slick. So hey, thanks for joining us. If your name is Slick22 or SlickX22, who won, John Cena or Cody Rhodes? That is tomorrow night. Yes, just as Earl just said in the chat, that is tomorrow night that is happening. Oh, finally. Okay, now my chat is finally starting to work, so I'll be seeing the new stuff here. I can see it on screen there. So oh my gosh, technical difficulties on this. Caster Labs is finally starting to work for me. Alrighty. But yeah, okay, that's the horizontal stream. 58 views so far. Thank you all so much. Whoa, my vertical stream, 1,422 views. Thank you all so much for coming on out, man. That's phenomenal. So let's see what we got. Sisters Video says, hello. Thanks for joining the stream. Vess says, Tiffany match was most unlikely win. Yeah, I thought I could have gone either way. They are pushing Tiffany Stratton strong, so that definitely is something. Vest says LA Knight is pissed. Hey, he got a big win over Seth Rollins on broadcast TV, so hey, that's a big win. But yeah, I want to see LA Knight get pushed to the world title. I think it's been long overdue. What's new men's tag team do we see coming together? Good question. I don't know. I as far as like throwing teams together, I'm more a fan like having those real good tag teams and stuff like that. I think those are always the interesting ones and stuff like that. And then do you like Hulk Hogan? Coming from Parker. Hulk Hogan in terms of the wrestler, yeah. Him as a person, well, certainly had his controversies, and I'm not going to defend those. But I'll actually be talking more about Hogan in a moment here, as I'll be giving my thoughts on the man's legacy now that I have the time and stuff like that. But yeah, in terms of professional wrestling, Hulk Hogan, hey, he's one of the all-time greats for sure in terms of what he dedicated to professional wrestling and stuff like that. Gamer P says, I love your vibe. Appreciate it. You're goated. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Wrecking Ball. Roman Reigns wins the red necklace. The Ulafala. Yes, the Ulafala. Vest says, I was happy when CM Punk got cashed in on. Great moment it was, great moment. Like I say, being that CM Punk had his lengthy reign back in the day as WWE champion, I'm okay for him to have a 5-minute reign, because just for him to be able to get that one last title win, I think I'm satisfied with that. So yeah, seeing CM Punk get cashed in on Seth Rollins, great moment for him. They that music though, fans were cheering, after they were booing for CM Punk and everything. So that, after they were cheering for CM Punk, you had that and everything. So Reckoning Ball says, hi, how you doing? Thanks for coming to the stream. Gamer P says, you're so perfect on those stories. Thank you, I appreciate it. Vest says, Kross leaving for AEW. I don't know if AEW can really do anything with Kross more than what WWE is. But hey, Tony Storm and Swerve Strickland, and I think even Mercedes Moné is proof that, hey, you can definitely get success coming from WWE to AEW. So, hey, who knows? Lauren says, he said, we're done. Oh, must have been referring to when Sami Zayn was doing that. Okay, yeah, I didn't know what he was saying, but there you go. Yeah, we're done. There we go. Riz says, who do you think will help Jacob tomorrow besides Jimmy Uso? Let's see. I don't know. See if we have a return. Maybe Jacob Fatu just does his own thing and destroys everybody. It's gonna be interesting to see. I'm not sure. Vest says Karrion Kross actually reminded me a little of DDP and stuff like that. I think is what you're saying, DDP. Interesting comparison. I haven't heard that one before. Larry Delt says this first night of SummerSlam was okay. The best part is Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank. Like I said you had like okay matches to I thought great matches. I probably liked the show more better than you did, but hey man, if you felt it was okay, then hey, at least you're not saying it's bad, and I think that's still a win in the lead. If the show wasn't bad, then hey, that's a good win. But yeah, Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank is definitely going to be always remembered as an all-time great moment for cash-ins. Vest says never liked Punk. Okay, never liked CM Punk. So hey, if you're an anti CM Punk fan, then there you go. You got exactly what you wanted tonight. Wutong says Tiffy time. Vest says Cargill overrated. Lauren says she a little green. Wutong says Tiffy time. Vest says we'll have a brand switch. So yeah, some of the chat here, not a fan of Jade Cargill. I still stand by what I said. I think she's come a long way since her AEW reign. But yeah, I'm glad it's still Tiffy time indeed. Will they have a brand switch? That's been rumored in the fall. Lauren says she took too long to make a move, LOL. There was a lot of adjustment going on, definitely. When you're doing those high-risk moves at the top rope, definitely got to be careful, that's for sure. Hang on, Sidq? Sorry if I butchered your name. When this match is starting, said hi. Thanks for joining. Vest, put Jade with Chelsea Green. Jade with Chelsea Green, I don't know how I feel about the vibe of that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, wow, guys, thank you for 1,500 views in the chat right now. That's awesome. Jade losing is a shame. I can see that. I can only stand that. Yeah, because Jade, Jade could have, Jade Cargill, I thought they were going to try to push her as a big deal right now, but I guess they wanted to take their time with that. Elizabeth Jones says, I have a single question about SmackDown. When John Cena turned back to babyface, is it just me? I think it's just to trick Cody Rhodes. You know what? Very well could be happening. For example, I'll be honest, for me, I come from the Attitude Era and stuff, so when they did the Invasion era right after the Attitude Era, and it was the whole storyline of, is it the old Stone Cold? Yeah, I pretty much was thinking like, okay, I'm getting those type of vibes. Is it really the old John Cena? So we'll find out tomorrow night. Either John Cena was a ruse and John Cena's gonna still be heel and go all the way to the end of his retirement before he turns babyface, or Cody. The swerve is Cena was legitimate. Cena was genuine, and as a result, what ends up happening from there is that what ends up happening from there is that Cena ends up being genuine, but Cody Rhodes goes heel. So we'll see how that all works out. Liliana says 4 letters, 1 word, yeet. Nice. Tishi Let's so sorry, I probably butchered the name. Sorry. Says hi, but thank you all for joining. Vest says John Cena fake babyface turn could very well be. Zayn Butt says hi. Hey, thank you for joining. Vest says Jelly Roll Drew Carey. Jelly Roll Drew Carey, like Drew Carey the actor, also WWE Hall of Famer. Lillian, I can't wait to see Cody and John fight tomorrow in a street fight. Yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty good tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that one myself. I'm way more intrigued by it than basically yeah, I'm more intrigued to see that it succeeds more than what I thought the WrestleMania match. WrestleMania match I thought was okay. Did Gunther lose? Yes, he did. He did indeed lose his world title. The ring general is no longer world champion. Tina says, hi, thank you for joining. Did CM Punk win? Yes, he did. And he lost. Robbie says, yes, he did, but Rollins cashed in. Yeah, Robbie says, Seth Rollins, the new world heavyweight champion. And Jay says, they make it so predictable now. I knew Seth was going to cash in. Yeah, we did too. I don't think predictability is a bad thing. It's not. But if it's executed well, I think it still works. If the story works, and the story absolutely works that they've been telling, so I think it was fine. Wrestling Fun says, I was so happy when Seth showed up. Yeah, man, a lot of fans were happy when Seth's music came in and all that stuff. A really great moment indeed. Anyone in this chat? Okay, I'm out. Yeah, the people are in this chat, but there was an issue earlier though that I had trying to see it. But hey, thanks for coming by though. Julie says, tooth for tooth, CM Punk. Yeah, CM Punk. He's done this before. I saw Matt Hardy posted something on X saying, "Hey, thank you, Jeff, thank you for avenging Jeff's loss," when CM Punk did the same thing, and he kind of helped the same thing get done over to what was his name? Drew McIntyre. It almost played out the exact same way. Nabin YT says hi, thanks for joining. Xander D Hart says hi, thanks. Xander also says, do you wrestle? No, I do not wrestle, but I have great respect for the men and women that do wrestle in that ring and give their bodies for it. I do have two friends that actually are independent wrestlers. Shout out to the man 0001, who's been on my videos often, our WrestleMania trilogy ranking recently, and Rob Fury, who's in attendance live tonight. They do wrestling in the ring, and it's really good to have friends who are able to give that perspective of what it's like to be in the ring and stuff, as opposed to a fan like me who sits and watches it and stuff like that, which, like I said, I still have great respect for the men and women that do. And then King Nepotin says, do you think WWE is actually letting Kross go? I mean, when you look at Kross, in the money's obviously well for him in Scarlet, but you gotta imagine he came back to WWE because he wanted to do more. And if, like I said, I don't think Kross really I don't think it's one of those things where Kross really, I just don't think Kross really feels I don't think Kross really feels maybe that they did as best they could with him. I think as fans, we look at how he was booking NXT, they could have done more. So yeah, if Kross doesn't feel comfortable about getting locked into another contract to do what he's been doing for the last 2.5 years or so, yeah, I could see WWE letting him go. It looked like they maybe were trying to keep him, but why do that at the end of someone's run? They could have pushed Kross like this, and I know they tried a few times and Kross wasn't getting over, but he did get over earlier this year, so why not? Or later last year it was. So yeah, that is what it is right there, and all that stuff. And so like that, yeah, I'm glad the chat is back up here working and everything. So let's see what we got here. Some more. Let's see, Xander, Nikki, do you okay, do you think okay, acknowledge me? Oh, acknowledge me, Biha Naha. That's shut up, PUSSI nickname. Interesting nickname there. Okay, you've been acknowledged, Roman Reigns style, and stuff like that. Tyler says, do you think he's going to GCW? He could. I mean, if he goes on the independent scene, he definitely is going to find work and everything, so that won't be an issue. And thank you for being a new subscriber. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you all so much. 71 in the horizontal stream, almost 1,600 in the vertical stream. Really appreciate y'all tonight. Thank you for the love. So I'm gonna take a little break here before we conclude with the next spot. All right, so from here, I'm gonna conclude the stream with what's gonna also be repurposed as a video to give my thoughts on Hulk Hogan because he passed away recently and everything. So yeah, this is gonna be eventually clipped out and be uploaded as a separate video. But for those of you who are still here with us in the chat, you can go ahead and hear and get my thoughts basically on Hulk Hogan. So here we go. When it comes to the man Terry Bollea and his controversies, I do not defend them. But when it comes to what the man did as Hulk Hogan in contributing to professional wrestling, I cannot deny that. I have a saying in life which goes like, bad behaviors do not take away good talent, but good talent does not justify bad behaviors. And I think that's exactly what you can use when it comes to one Hulk Hogan, known also by his real name, Terry Bollea. Look, the controversies of Terry Bollea can never be defended, but they will never take away his contributions as Hulk Hogan to the professional wrestling industry. Likewise, Hulk Hogan's contributions to professional wrestling will not excuse his controversies as Terry Bollea. I'm SonGoshuaku, and I'm a lifelong professional wrestling fan, and I'll be the host of this video. And for me to say lifelong wrestling fan, that would not be possible if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan. I didn't grow up as a 1980s kid. I was born 1990, so I came after Hulk Hogan, and as a result, I didn't have much emotional connection to Hulk Hogan. I got into WWE around 1994, the New Generation era. So the wrestlers that I grew up with was Bret the Hitman Hart, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, and then when I really got hooked on professional wrestling during the Attitude Era, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. Those were the wrestlers that made me a lifelong wrestling fan. But it all goes back to Hulk Hogan, because none of those guys I just mentioned, they're not there in the 90s for me to become a big wrestling fan if Hulk Hogan didn't do what he did in the 1980s. And for that, I will always respect what Hulk Hogan did for professional wrestling. Going back, watching some of his stuff in the 1980s, man, Hulk Hogan, he was one of the greatest charismatic superstars of all time. He was a master of psychology. So, a lot of people didn't like him because of his matches. He had a very simple formula, get beat down, Hulk up, and, do the, what you gotta do, brother, when the Hulkster runs wild on you. And, do the big punches, the big boot, the leg drop, which really did a number on his lower back, to the point where I think he was getting, by the end of his life, he was getting he was getting some of the nerves cut just so he could relieve some of the pain. And I saw some of his stuff in Japan, highlights of some of his matches in Japan, where he really showcased that he could definitely do, some good basic wrestling, chain wrestling and all that stuff, because he knew what the audience wanted in Japan. He knew they wanted more of the technical wrestling, and he gave them more of the technical wrestling, versus in America, they wanted the more flashy stuff, and that's what Hogan did to him. Man, you go back to some of those WrestleManias, because I have gone back recent years and watched like all the WrestleManias, so I could watch like the 80s, and man, oh man, wrestling wise, Hulk Hogan, back in the 80s, you look at the Iron Sheik, and even before that, he was in Rocky 3. Rocky, one of my favorite movie franchises of all time. I think he was Thunder Lips and stuff, so that was really cool to see. Going back into those 1980s matches, though, him and Mr. T teaming up, huge, phenomenal business. I mean, just because of him being in there with Mr. T, that was such a big success at WrestleMania. And then look at where we are now. We just had WrestleMania 41, going into WrestleMania WrestleMania 42 next year. Not possible without Hulk Hogan. WrestleMania 2 out with, what was it, King Kong Bundy. Then WrestleMania 3, the most legendary pro wrestling moment of all time, slamming Andre the Giant, which was not the first time he slammed Andre the Giant, but it's the most legendary one. And that was like a big wave. Like, if you love WrestleMania matches where it's like that big fight feel, as Gorilla Monsoon, legendary commentator, once said, who's no longer with us as well, the irremovable object meeting the irresistible force, and stuff. That was like the first big one-on-one, two big superstar attractions meeting and colliding, and that's what WrestleMania would get built off of. My all-time favorite match is Stone Cold and The Rock and everything and stuff like that. So things like that, of that nature, man, I just think is absolutely phenomenal. I really enjoyed that and stuff like that for that match, and it wasn't the best technical wrestling masterpiece, I have to admit, and all that stuff. Certainly it's not going to go down as that, but it was an all-time great moment. WrestleMania 4 with Macho Man Randy Savage. Ooh, yeah, you got lust in your eyes for Elizabeth. Man, one of the greatest stories WWE's ever told. Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Miss Elizabeth, and that match is probably one of my favorite all-time Hogan matches. Love that match between him and Randy Savage at WrestleMania 5, I think it was. Yeah, after WrestleMania 4, and then don't forget WrestleMania 6, when Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan collided. Obviously, it wasn't much of a technical masterpiece, but the audience was wild for that, and that match really helped inspire Edge, and we got him in WWE and Adam Copeland. So phenomenal stuff. When I go back and watch some of those 1980s and just see the roar in the crowd and everything, it's just huge. And that 1980s period did so much for WWE. It put WWE on the map as a worldwide global phenomenon, and it helped bring the business to where it would be able to have another boom period in the Attitude Era and get to where we are now. So yeah, Hogan absolutely did huge stuff for that 80s period. And like I said, I grew up in the 90s, so my introduction to Hulk Hogan was actually through the WrestleMania 20, no, not WrestleMania 20, no, the WrestleMania Super video game for Sega Genesis. That was my introduction to Hulk Hogan, and man, it was one of those things where that was my first time wrestling, and my brother, he was introducing me to wrestling through that game. And I remember not just that game, but seeing Hogan in like Nanny, was it Nanny or something? I forget the movie's name. I know he's in Suburban Commando. That was my first introduction like to Hulk Hogan, and also I know seeing Ultimate Warrior in that Super WrestleMania game. So those 90s stars, it was cool to see them, and so I kind of knew who they were, and that just shows you the impact they had. Even a little kid at my age, 4 or 5 years old, knowing who they were. I used to mispronounce his name and call him Pogan. I didn't know how to pronounce it. I had a very kid mindset, obviously, watching at the time. I was watching WWE off and on during the mid 90s, so I didn't really see the initial NWO stuff. I just remember my father at the time, who was trying to figure out what the heck wrestling was, he would always say stuff like, we would turn to WWF Raw, and he's like, oh, this is the phony stuff. He said, turn to the other one look real, and it'd be the NWO, and they have Dennis Rodman on there, and they'd be like, oh snap, they got Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone, all that stuff on there, and I didn't know why my father felt that way. He's learned more about the business now and everything, but when I watched those Monday Night War areas, that's when I realized, it's like, oh, that's what was going on. People would tune in and they see WWF look too cartoony, and they see WCW, Scott Hall, Nash, Hogan. They were all looking like it was like some real type stuff going on there, and it changed the business. The NWO, even though I didn't see it in real time, going back, I've watched it so many times. This right here, brother, is the new world order of professional wrestling. And he's like, you fans can go ahead and stick it, brother. All that stuff, whatever. I'm just paraphrasing there, but yeah, man, iconic classic moment, the NWO. Dun, 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 dun. Him coming out the Voodoo Child. Fantastic stuff, man. That the NWO was the stuff. I got the NWO shirt and led to the Wolf Pack, which, I always saw that. So, NWO for life, and that paved the way for D-Generation X, paved the way for a more edgier WWE and Attitude Era. So even though, like I said, I had no emotional connection with Hogan, and I kind of went back and watched all that stuff, looking back, I have to really enjoy, because without Hogan as a babyface and a heel doing what he did in the 80s and 90s and just creating two boom periods and reinventing himself like that as a face, once as a face in the 80s and once as a heel in the 90s, by him doing that, man, phenomenal that he was able to go on and really, when you think about it, he was able to go on and do that to the business and reinvent it, and it lead to the ways of the stuff that my generation really grew up liking and stuff. You know, as a kid, when he came back to WCW, or he came back to WWE, the thing is, I was like, who's this old guy coming in here trying to steal Rock's thunder? And I saw the WrestleMania, at the time it was like WrestleMania 1 to 14 VHS tape that they had back then, in the 90s. That's how we watched our videos back then, for you guys that are younger out there that only know about streaming. But yeah, I knew Hogan was a big deal, but Rock and Austin were my guys and stuff, and I did not like Triple H losing at Backlash to him. I thought the stuff that Undertaker did, like you know, tying him to by his feet and driving him through the arena, was good stuff. The Vince McMahon match though was cool, and I did like the whole, you know, him coming out to Voodoo Child and everything, and you know, the Hulk rules again, him tapping out the Kurt Angle, putting him over. That was fun stuff. So I did really enjoy the 2002 run with Hogan, and him putting over Brock Lesnar, where Brock Lesnar squeezing him and it squeezes the life out of the Hulkster, and seeing him come back for his Hall of Fame speech, it was good to see there. And it was around his Hall of Fame speech that as a teenager I really started appreciating Hulk Hogan more, because of what Hulk Hogan did. That's when I was realizing, because I was a lifelong fan. Rock and Austin had retired at this point, but I loved wrestling so much, I wanted to learn more about the history of wrestling. So I was going back watching that stuff from the 80s and stuff, and seeing just how big a deal Hogan was. So I was going crazy when he would come out and everything. Him and Shawn Michaels, obviously great feud, especially Shawn Michaels, you know, when he was doing like a brother, talking about on Larry King, doing the Larry King parody, you know. So I enjoyed the feud, the match. Shawn oversold like crazy for that match, and I actually watched that match years later, and I thought, oh, it was going to be one of the all-time great, seeing Hogan and Shawn Michaels. I brought it on DVD and didn't watch it until years later, and I was like, oh, that's what he did. He was overselling. That's why people were talking about it. He didn't put Randy Orton over, so yeah, I mean, I didn't know about that. And then I saw his run in TNA, which actually, hey, the Sting match, obviously the classic build-up in WCW was great, but then the finish of that match, yeah, I thought the match with him and Sting, which was his final televised match, was good stuff in TNA, so I did enjoy that. Yeah, and Hogan was always one of those around. And one thing that was really cool, I would say, about Hulk Hogan is, and I mentioned this in my video, as you guys can tell, I'm a Dragon Ball fan. But yeah, one of the things I mentioned in my review about, or not review, but my tribute video about Akira Toriyama, I was saying how sometimes when people die, you hear all this great stuff about them. And a lot of and sometimes that'll lead to people saying, well, you said this stuff now, but where was that when they were living? And when you look at Hogan, WWE, for the most part, when Hogan was never a part of his, I would say, yeah, when Hogan was never a part of the competition, whether it be TNA wrestling, or, you know, when he obviously WWE let him go, you know, because of the controversy and stuff with the racist rant that got leaked. For the most part, whenever Hogan was in good standing with WWE always went out of their way to make sure they highlight Hulk Hogan. So no matter what generation you grew up watching, Hogan was always a big deal. He was always using highlight packages, always talked about how big a deal WrestleMania was. So it was really cool that Hogan in his lifetime, I think, was able to see his work get celebrated constantly. I mean, how many times has him slamming Andre the Giant been played over? So, you know, Hogan was always there. And so I think that was really cool. I think he wrestled his last match, non-televised event, and then his body just broke down after that. They were going to try to bring him back for WrestleMania 37, I think it was, but you know, the pandemic kind of put that down. So when you look at the career, man, phenomenal career, one of the greatest of all time. Hulk Hogan certainly deserves and has earned to be on the Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling. But then there's the controversies, and on a personal level when it comes to Hulk Hogan, and I don't know him personally, but based on what we've seen of him in the public eye and what others have said, the stories have come out about him being a backstage politician, him really being super protective of his spot, to the point where, they had to do the whole thing at Bash at the Beach and with the whole thing of him and Russo, which at least did lead to Booker T getting the WCW championship. You had the way he left TNA, how he had Dixie Carter on her legs, basically begging Hogan not to go away. So you had those, and then of course, he had the controversies with like his son Nick was in that car incident that left his friend paralyzed, and I think he once said that God had placed some heavy stuff on that on the kid, and that poor kid, that guy is paralyzed for life. He had the racist rant where he didn't like that he wanted his daughter to date a guy who was going to be very successful in doing something to his life, which from a standpoint of guy, just saying a guy, I think any parent would want their child when they grow up to obviously be with somebody that truly cares for them and doing something with their life. But notice I said the keyword guy. I'm not bringing race into it. Hogan unfortunately brought race into it, and yeah, he was probably in a really bad spot in his life at the time, and everything, and they recorded against his will and stuff, like they recorded without his knowledge there, and leaked his privacy, and he won that case against Gunther. But the biggest controversy that came in there is, I don't think it was ever so much Hogan said that. It was more so, well, did Hogan learn from that, and did he sincerely apologize? Now, he said he has apologized, but according to what a lot of the WWE stars, if you look at what Shelton Benjamin said, Shelton Benjamin was saying that Hogan lost him because Hogan sounded more like sorry that he got caught. And stuff like that. And when you look at something like that, I think that was the controversy there. A lot of people felt Hogan wasn't sincere. Mark Henry tried his best to try and get Terry Bollea, like, hey, go around like black schools, black communities, and just educating people the wrongfulness, and he felt of saying stuff like that, and Hogan felt it wasn't. And then you hear more controversies with like his family, like his daughter Brooke. They said had become very distant from her, and there's stories that she got taken off the wheel and all that stuff. So and then you've seen what she's rolling the controversy. You've seen what his ex-wife has rolling on the controversies there. So when you hear what his own family, and then you had like his best friend had a falling out, Brutus Beefcake and stuff like that. It's just, yeah. Like I said, man, Hogan, I think maybe it's possible that maybe he just didn't mature to understand what he was saying. Was just very ignorant about it. And then in last year, I think, he said he made fun of Kamala Harris heritage and stuff, and he said, oh, that's gonna be the booze, that was the booze talking, brother, I'm gonna get heat for that one. And to do that, something like that, after 9 years, and Hogan had so many lies and stories, so it was hard to tell where it ended with him, when it came to the man Terry Bollea. And like some of his lies, like I think he told the story about the kid was dying, and his last request was to see Hogan compete at SummerSlam 1992, and Hogan said he won the match at SummerSlam 1992. And he looked over and the kid had already passed away, except Hogan wasn't even on SummerSlam 1992. He said something recently that he had Brock Lesnar's comeback match in 2012, which is funny because I was there in 2012 in the Allstate Arena at Extreme Rules, and pretty much all that was John Cena. He said something about he worked 400 days in a year. Like, Hogan just, man, he had so many exaggerated stories, which were funny and entertaining stories. But when you say stuff like that, you can laugh at stuff like that. But then when it comes to like the racist rants, going back to what I said, any father obviously wants his daughter to be with a guy that's going successful, but you don't have to bring race into it like he did, and that's what he did. And when he's saying sorry and you're hearing all this stuff, it just gets hard to know, like, okay, is he sincere here, is he not sincere here? And even more complicated, just like Cody Rhodes said, because he did have Hogan did have, black friends in the industry. You've heard Jimmy Hart said he did, who's definitely a very loyal friend to Hogan. Jimmy Hart, he was loyal to him, but Jimmy Hart was saying how he really helped out Coco Beware, and he went to bat for Kamala, and he was very good friends with Mr. T, very good friends with with Dennis Robbins, and so even Mike Tyson was saying he felt that Hogan possibly could, maybe could, or maybe couldn't, but he said he felt like Hogan maybe just he said something in a very bad moment where he wasn't thinking right, and that's not representation of who he is. And I never heard any of the people that were really close black friends of Hogan having issue with him. Never heard him having any issue. He was very good to his fans, from what I've heard, and never heard him having any issues with any black fans and everything, in terms of how he treated them and stuff like that. So like I said, it's possible at his core Hogan was not an evil person. I don't put him on the level of this evil, malicious person, but he said things that I felt like he was just very ignorant about and not understanding. Like, yeah, you can't go around making fun of culture like that, like he did talking about something with Kamala Harris in the bar. Like, yeah, you can't go around saying stuff like that, and if you did, you have to understand the severity of and why wrong that was, and apologize why, hey, we gotta let people know this is not the way to do it. But he didn't. He's like, instead, I guess they were saying, he was like, be careful, there's cameras everywhere, and you don't want to be careful when you're being recorded and stuff. So yeah, it gets really mucky. It does with Hulk Hogan when it comes to Terry Bollea and stuff. And I've seen some other content creators who were fans of Hulk Hogan, and they were talking about how they feel that, man, this should be a celebration of what he did for professional wrestling. But instead, you have to acknowledge the good and also look at the bad in his life and everything and stuff like that. So yeah, it gets really complicated, honestly. They say he was a born-again Christian and everything and stuff. So hey, only God knows Hulk's heart and everything, and I hope for Hulk's sake he was saved, especially in his last moments. But at the end of the day, like I said in conclusion with this, Terry Bollea, his controversies certainly do not take away his contributions to pro wrestling as Hulk Hogan. But his contributions as Hulk Hogan to professional wrestling certainly do not excuse his controversies as Terry Bollea. It is complicated, but overall, I really do hope for his sake that he was able to be sincere with his apologies, and in the end, and hopefully went out there, and hopefully he was saved. And most definitely, my heart and prayers go out to his family. Like I said, I know he had issues, obviously, being from his daughter and all that stuff, but the people that loved him and were friends or even former best friends, Bruce Beefcake said he wished that they would have been able to make amends before he passed away. So that's always a good reminder in life. If you're on the outs with somebody, make up with them before it's too late and everything, and stuff. That always make sure you tell the people in your life that you love them, because you never know. And it's complicated, like when it comes to them. That's why I have to conclude there. I'm not going to defend the controversies, but I will respect the contributions that he made to pro wrestling. It goes back to what my stepfather raised me with. He always told me, get caught up in the message, not the messenger. And I think that goes, another saying I've heard is, get lost in the art, not the artist. And I think that's something for people to remind everybody, is that, we can love and respect a lot of people out there for their work and everything, but don't get so caught up into the person and stuff like that. And it's not to say that, no, by all means, not everybody out there that does work is bad. You want to believe that, oh man, they're so great at doing this type of work and they must be even just as good of a person or even better. But no, don't get caught up into that and everything. So yeah, overall, I just wanted to go ahead and give my thoughts on the very complicated legacy of Terry Hulk Hogan Bollea. So yeah, like I said, I'm not going to defend his controversies at all, but I will always respect what he did for the professional wrestling industry, and that can never be taken away. Hulk Hogan is the reason why pro wrestling is where it is today. As a long life pro wrestling fan who have bonded with friends and family, I have moments of watching wrestling that I will cherish forever with my family and friends, and that's definitely thanks to Hulk Hogan doing what he did back in the 1980s and everything. All right, so let's go to the chat, see if anybody else had anything here to say. Let's see what we said here in the chat. what you think about Zilla Fatu coming to WWE and join Jacob and Big Jim. That would be cool. Yeah, I'd definitely be all for it. Would not mind seeing that at all. Miller 773. Hogan is an old head and he's set on his old ways, and that isn't excusable. And excuse me if I'm talking out of ignorance. No, you're right, man. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, Hogan was probably set in his ways. He growing up in the 1950s or something like that. Maybe he grew up around that type of that mindset, and that's kind of what he developed overall. And then as the world advanced and understood the wrongness of saying stuff like that, it sounded like maybe he didn't realize that and everything and stuff like that, and didn't fully understand with his apologies why that type of talk is just not acceptable nowadays and stuff and everything. So I see where you're coming from there, Miller. Ricardo says, did he get the N-word pass? Well, you look on X and you will see very much just as Miller says, no. Yeet. Nicholas says, hi. Hey, thanks you for joining. Would you rather says, hi. Hey, thank you. John says, well said. I appreciate John. Would you rather also says, rest in peace to Hulk Hogan. Yeah, man, it's complicated and everything and stuff like that, but yeah, I still want to show empathy for sure, and stuff like that for what he did for the WWE business. Once again, though, not gonna excuse what he did and all this stuff. Joshua Thomas says, do you think AJ Lee will return for the final the final night or one more match? I guess you're asking about. Final night, you said. It's always possible. She did an interview where she said she loves her WWE fans, but she's very, very caught up into what she's doing now outside, and I know she had some neck issues, so who knows? She hasn't come back yet. Her and her husband in WWE are on good terms, so hey, who knows and everything, and all that stuff and stuff like that. But yeah, I would love to see it. AJ Lee, definitely just a testament. She's been gone for a decade now, and fans are still clamoring for her. So that just is a really good testament to just show how much of an impact she's made in her legacy with the WWE in professional wrestling. Would you rather says, I hope Brock Lesnar returns. Well, depending on how this case goes with the Janelle Grant lawsuit and Vince McMahon, we'll see if that ends up becoming a reality. I myself always wanted to see that Brock Lesnar versus Gunther match, but WWE is a business, and they got to do what they feel they got to do to stay in good publicity, and they feel Brock Lesnar, obviously right now, is not that. So, yeah. But that being said, guys, I want to say thank you all for joining me for the live stream tonight for SummerSlam. I'll be back tomorrow with SummerSlam Night 2. Joshua says, I think her pop would be louder than Punk's. Could be at this point, for sure. Could be at this point. CM Punk's back, so I think AJ's like, oh, holy crap, Miller also says, like you said, I will respect that he did what, like you said, I will respect what he did for WWE/WCW, but the stuff in TNA, I will not forgive him. LOL, but no respect, like you said, to the forgive him. LOL, but no respect, like you said, to LOL, but no, you said, okay, but you said respect, like you said, to the contributions, for sure. John says, Gunther bled hot pepper sauce. Yeah, man, he was bleeding a gusher for sure. Well, hey, all you all, thank you so much for coming out to the chat and showing so much love. Really appreciate it tonight. So yeah, you can see more of my content right there on the screen. I'll be back with WWE SummerSlam 2025 Night 2 live stream. Until then, take care.